Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate was developed and released by Capcom on the 3DS back in 2011 in Japan. This was eventually translated and released overseas. In 2012, it was released on the Wii U. North America, Europe, and Australia got an English release in March the following year. Using a brilliant combination of both combat and strategy, this stands in my opinion as one of Capcom's greatest games. In the options menu, you'll find monitor settings, which will allow you to change the brightness of the screen. Music settings will allow you to change your music and sound effects. Effects settings will allow you to adjust the amount of blood and flashes to something much more mild. Controller settings will allow you to adjust your controls. Game settings will allow you to toggle quick load and also change the gamepad type. Changing the gamepad type to Type 2 will move the screen from the TV to the gamepad. Language settings will allow you to change your game language from English to French, Spanish, Dutch, and Italian. Data transfer will give you the option to transfer your save files over to your 3DS and back. The DLC option will allow you to connect to the internet and download all the DLC, and the best part about that is, it's all free! In the DLC, you'll find the hardest missions in the game, which will offer you large amounts of money upon completion, or even weapon parts, which are only obtainable through DLC quests. I originally bought this on the 3DS eShop before the limited physical release, and I played it, but not for long. I really didn't have a clue what was going on. It was only a year later when some people I knew started to play it, I gave it another shot. And give it another shot I did. I became quite addicted to it, something to the tune of 380 hours. Especially after getting a free copy bundled with my Wii U, I found the combat system and the monster designs to be amazing. The amount of armor and customization of armor is above and beyond what I expected. The story is based around Moga Village that is plagued by earthquakes, caused by a Legiacris, an aquatic leviathan. The village elder sees you as a perfect candidate to go and stop the problem. Of course, there's a range of training you'll have to go through first. Your character can be male or female, and there are a range of options to customize them. However, since you'll be decked out in all the awesome armor, you might not see their features much. Multiplayer. The game supports up to 4-player local multiplayer and 4-player online multiplayer. This is done by entering port Tanzia for local, or network mode for online. For local, each player will need a copy of the game. For example, 4-player local would require 1 Wii U and the game, and 3 3DS consoles with 3 more games. Also, it should be noted the 3DS version doesn't support online mode on its own unless you go through the Wii U console, which would require a Wii U LAN adapter and a free app off the eShop. Simple, huh? Controls have been set up rather perfectly in my opinion. They can take a bit of getting used to, but once you master them, you're set. I use the Wii U gamepad personally, but the Pro Controller and the Classic Controller are also compatible. The thumbsticks can be a little touchy, for smaller movements though. It's important to eat a good meal before going out to keep your energy up. This is the same in Monster Hunter. Eating a meal before your hunt is always recommended, and mixing different types of food together will give you different benefits. Weapon damage can be categorized into its base form depending on the weapon as cutting, impact, and shot damage. A majority of the weapons can also have elemental properties, which are fire, water, thunder, ice, and dragon. This will help you to do damage on top of the base damage of a weapon. There are some weapons that don't have elemental attributes, but will do status effects instead. These are poison, paralysis, sleep, and slime. These will become more effective in early stages of the battle, and become less effective as the battle progresses, due to the monster gaining immunity to your attacks. There are a vast range of weapons to choose from to suit most, if not all, playstyles. Greatswords. The greatsword is a slow weapon. It can be charged to do massive damage, and can also block. Even though it's slow, it makes up for it with reach and pure power. Longswords. The longsword has a similar reach to the greatsword. Although it cannot block, it makes up for it in speed. It also has a charge bar in the top left of the screen. When attacking monsters, the bar will fill, and once filled, you'll be able to unleash a powerful combo. Sword and Shield. The Sword and Shield can be used in multiple situations. The shield will block weak attacks, and the sword is useful for quick slash attacks. Dual Blades. Dual Blades are your quick, maneuverable, and high DPS class. They also have a special ability. By hitting R to activate the Demon Dance technique, your stamina will drain constantly, but you'll gain an attack boost, and aura around you, your dodge animation will change to a quick slide, and the bar in the top left-hand corner of the screen will start filling when you're attacking. Once it's full, you'll enter the Archdemon mode. In this mode, your stamina will stop being drained and you'll still have the increased attack and better dodge animation until the bar runs out. Hammers. The hammer may be the slowest weapon in the game, but it makes up for it with raw power and the ability to charge attacks to do even more damage. Hunting Horns. The Hunting Horn is the support weapon in the game. Every time you do an attack, a certain note will play, combining multiple specific notes together and activating them by pressing R will give you and your teammates in the area a buff. Lances. The lance is the most defensive weapon in the game, although it does have a higher damage output than the gun lance, and great reach. Gun lances. The gun lance is similar to the lance in the way of reach, however, it's also a gun. You can fire standard shots, or you can go all out and shoot a massive Wyvern fire blast. It'll be a while before you can use it again though after that. Switch axes. Switch axes have been my main weapon in the game, due to their maneuverability, cutting damage, and range. With the ability of switching from axe mode to blade mode, you'll be able to do more damage and also perform a special attack. Light bowguns. The light bowgun, one of 3 ranged weapons in the game, can shoot normal shots or special shots for different elemental damage or effects. It does less damage than the heavy bowgun, but is more elementally based and has faster reload times and maneuverability. Heavy bowguns. Heavy bowguns are less elementally based, but have a higher damage output, making the light bowgun users more of a support class. They also tend to have larger clips. Bows. The bow has great maneuverability, and can be used in a wide range of situations. With its fast firing capacity, it can be great at stacking elemental or other damage effects. It also has a close range melee attack, which is useful for those pesky smaller monsters and cutting parts off enemies. Each of these weapons has a different feel to them to make them unique, and your strategy generally has to be changed to match the weapon you're using. On top of that, weapons can be upgraded to do different types of damage, some of which are more effective to certain monsters. Some weapons even worked better on certain monsters. Depending on the speed of the monster, like the Porgy or Amberoths, I found it easy to use dual blades on it, giving me a high damage per second output due to the large amount of health and hit time given when fighting it. I've found the weapons in this game to be well balanced and fun to use. Monsters. Monsters can be sorted into 3 type categories: small, large, and elder dragons. The small monsters are the ones you'll find scattered across the map as you play and explore. Large monsters will be quite obvious once you locate them, and elder dragons will be, pretty obvious. Each monster has its own resistances and weaknesses. As a hunter, it's your job to know what weakness each monster has, so you can exploit it, especially if it's a possibility that the battle will be lost due to the time limit of 55 minutes running out due to a lack of damage needed to kill something. I recommend having a look at the Wikia to save yourself a lot of grief. Some monsters' weaknesses can be obvious, like fire monsters being weak to water. Who would have guessed? But it's not always that simple, so research. When a monster, be it small or large, is defeated, you can usually carve it and gain precious materials that can be used to make weapons, armor, or even jewels. Armor. Armor can be placed into 2 categories, Blademaster and Gunner. Gunner must be used if you're wielding a bowgun or bow. It's generally weaker, so keep your distance from monsters. Blademaster armor will offer you much greater defense. As you progress the game, you'll unlock high rank and G rank variants, which are a lot more powerful. Each piece of armor will usually give you points towards an ability. Wearing a complete set is usually the best way to go, so all the points add up and the ability is activated. An ability requires at least 10 points to be activated, any less and you won't get any benefits. You can also add jewels to armor with slots. which will allow you to add points to further customize your armor's abilities. Equipping talismans will also give you more ability points. Items. Items are probably one of the most important things in the game, from potions that can heal you during dangerous quests, to antidotes that can cure you from poison. And let's not forget whetstones that can restore your weapon's sharpness when it becomes dull from hitting a monster that just won't go down. They can also be combined outside or during quests, and there is usually a chance of obtaining garbage, depending on how rare the item is and how much the success rate is. Maps. As far as where your battles take place, it can be a range of different areas on a map. The maps are quite large and split into smaller areas. When fighting a monster, they will sometimes leave the area you're in and go to a different area, which can be annoying if you're having trouble finding them. Some of the maps will even make it harder on you as a hunter. For example, the Tundra map is an icy area which will drain your stamina bar unless you drink a hot drink or eat some hot meat. On the flip side, if you're in the Volcano map, some of the areas will deal damage to your health if you don't consume a cold drink or chilled meat. In conclusion, Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate exceeded all of my expectations, having over 20 small monsters and over 50 large monsters to hunt, as well as more than a decent selection of weapons and armor to choose from. And free DLC, what's not to love? Sure, the game can be frustrating at times when you spend 55 minutes trying to take down a monster that's limping, only to fail and have to start again. But it's part of the challenge and a learning experience. You eventually learn the monster's moves and when it's safe to attack, and this helps you improve yourself as a hunter. I feel that this game is great, and it's a great start to the Monster Hunter series for beginners. Why not check it out? Keep an eye on my channel. Over the next few days, there will be a video discussing my channel direction. Hit that subscribe button to stay up to date. If you like this video, leave a like. I hope you found it interesting and useful.